Yeah, so this is our day 12. We're going to talk about smart contract web frontend. So yesterday we looked at the same topic, but then we did a very simple web frontend. So today we're just going to see how we can implement the same thing, but in React, okay? So you guys should have started working on your projects as soon as possible so that you submit them in time. So here are some of the things you're going to need. Right here, you need some knowledge with React. Okay, so if you have some little experience with React, you'll be good to go. If not, you'll just follow along. You're still welcome. So we're basically going to walk through a very simple React web frontend of our wishlist smart contract. So basically, the interface we used yesterday. Okay. Sorry, guys, for that. The interface we used yesterday. And yeah, let's see how this is going to look like. Now, let me see. Okay. So let me just share this. This session is actually going to be brief because most of the things you actually saw yesterday. So we're going to be as brief as possible. I really hope you can see the screen I've just shared. My editor, right? Can you guys see the editor, the VS Code I've just shared? Okay. So here we are. So this is a React.js project. And maybe before we walk through, like we did yesterday, so we're just going to start the app. I really hope this can work from my IDE's terminal. So I'm just going to run yarn start and let's see how this is going to behave. To be frank with you guys, I really faced some challenges with these application. So, so you guys are not seeing my screen. Let me just share these as well. So I really hope you can see it. So this is what was launched after doing yarn start. So I'm basically using my wallet address I used yesterday. So maybe I should log out first. So logging out, there are some bit of changes with our interface. You realize we are having the Sankore2 logo. So this is authentication screen. So I'll just hit on that button, login. That is going to direct me to my wallet interface to select the wallet address I want to proceed with. Let me change the wallet address for now. Let's use do4.testnet. And I'm just going to link this with the app. So that should do the magic and direct us back to our application. Great. So that just happened. So you realize we are logged in using do4.testnet wallet. So I can as well click on new, and right here we can basically create a new car record. So I'm just using the default values I had right here. So that way, so this is also going to direct me to my wallet address, where I'm going to be prompted to approve attaching 1 near to this particular transaction. So I'll just approve that, and it will send the near token. And then we get directed back right here. So we can as well add another car, Let's just add another car. Okay. Oh, sorry. So let's just go with the default values over here and add these again. So we're going to be directed to our wallet address to approve attaching that amount of token. Then once that has been approved and sent, we should be directed back to our app. Awesome. So now if we go back and we just give it some few moments to load, you realize that we have all the records over here. And yeah, I can as well delete a record. So that will basically delete it. It's a promise. So wait a bit, then it will reload. And yeah, my records will be loaded again. So that is basically what's happening. Now let's have a look at the IDE and the code, basically what how I went about this. So this is a React.js application or project, sorry. You come about this by running npx create react app. Then you give your app a name. So in this case, I called it React Frontend. Now, let's hop into our source folder. So right here, there's a series of files, quite a bunch of them, you realize. And I'm having this for, so I have components, dashboard, login, navigation, and new car components that I'm going to use within my app. So there are two interesting files right here that we're basically going to have a look at. So maybe, okay, let me try to minimize this. Then right here, you realize, guys, that I tried using the near API module, but then it is commented out within the project. So I was really facing some issues with the near API JS module, which I sort of installed using npm. So right there, line 11. So the module was raising some error while running my app, but then I couldn't find any solution online. So I had to tweak, I had to find my way around it, around the problem, so that I showed this to us. Though I'll be doing some further research on the error. So once I'm able to address the error, then I'll get back to us on how we can use the module. But for now, since this is still a front end, I've made use of, let me just head on to my public, then HTML. You realize I'm making use of the CDN link, okay? So I'm just making use of this CDN instead of the near API JS module. So that is what we're going to use to do our configuration like we saw yesterday. So in my config.js file right here, I'm using browser local storage to store my key. And basically this file is familiar with us. Sorry, so it basically looks similar to what we saw yesterday. Then to our utils.js file, in line one, sorry, you also realize that I was importing something from near API JS, but then that never worked. Okay. Yeah, so this really never worked. So my way around it was to use the CDN link I've just showed us. So I'm going to show us how I really went about using the link. Now, right here, I'm basically importing my get config function and the contract name from our config.js file. Then there's this object I'm storing in near config variable, and that is what we're going to make use in our initialization method. So right in our initialization method, there's a window object I'm passing in. And I'm basically using the near API from the CDN link I've just showed us to do my configuration. Now, at this point, I'm getting it from the window object. So window.near API, because these are available globally. The near API object from our CDN link is available globally. So we can basically make use of it through window.near API. Now, that is basically what I'm using. We get a near instance, then we create our wallet over here, and we also assign the object to wallet connection. We add the wallet connection object to globally, that is. Then we also create our account object, and we also avail it globally through the window object. Same thing to our contract. So you guys are really familiar with what's going on here. We're having our view methods in this area. Apparently it's empty. Then we have our change methods as listed over there. And we have the account object that will basically be signing all these in transactions, sorry, and the contract name, which you're pulling from the config.js file. Then over here is logged in function. I'm pretty sure we looked at all these functions. So the is logged in function is basically checking if the user is logged in, and we are making use of the wallet connection object you availed globally. Same to get account, we're basically retrieving the wallet address that is currently logged in through the wallet connection object that we availed globally. And we also signing in. So here's the logic. Using the wallet connection object, we invoke the request sign in method of it, passing in the contract name and an optional argument of the app name. Yeah. Then we do the sign out. So we first check if the user is signed in. And if they are, we invoke the sign out method of the wallet connection object we availed globally through the window object. And yeah, that is basically that. Then from there, we start invoking our contracts functions. Now, right here, we start with the add car function and using our contract object, which we also availed globally through the window. We invoke the add car method, passing in a JSON object of our arguments, specifying the gas fee and the near tokens we're going to attach. And by that, these are synchronous function, guys. So we have to wait for the response, and we're storing that in the response variable, and after which we return it over there. Same to read wish list. So through the contract object, we invoke the read wish list method, passing in a JSON object containing the parameters required. So in this case, the start and the limit. And we also wait for that particular response. And we store that in response variable, and then we return. So if the user was not logged in, we're basically going to return an empty array. Okay. Now on the remove car method as well, we're using the contract object, which we have made globally, invoking the delete car method of our smart contract function, passing in the ID argument in that JSON object. And we're basically returning it in line 103. And if the user was not logged in, then we just return null. So that is basically it about our utils.js. So you realize it's quite similar to what we saw yesterday or in our previous session, while we were talking about simple web frontend. So really, there's nothing that has changed, or if any, not so much. So maybe I'll just take us through what's going on in our components. So maybe I can start with the login component. So over here, we first check if the user is logged in, right? And if they are not, sorry, if they are logged in, then we redirect them to the dashboard. So that is basically what this line is trying to do. If they are not logged in, then you're going to invoke the sign in method from our utils.js file over there. So we basically invoke that function. And if you can remember, well, this function is what is going to help us sign in our user or link wallet addresses to our application. Okay. Then if while trying to add new car right here in our new car component, we have first of all, you check if the user is logged in. If they're not, then we direct them back to the authentication page. However, if they are logged in, then there's this form which they are going to fill. This is the form we filled, guys. Then right here, I have a submit method. So in my function here, there's an onSubmit event, and I'm simply passing the name of that function. So our submit function is an asynchronous function, which is going to, we first of all going to prevent default, then we capture all these records. Then from there, we invoke our addCar function from our utils.js file. And again, this addCar function is what is going to help us add, using these parameters, the object in our contract. So we're basically going to pass all these parameters down to our smart contract, and they're all going to be added over there. So this is how we go about that. Convert the string for the arguments that need integer. Simply use that line, number.parseInt, to convert them to integer or float as deemed fit. Then from there, we reset our form. Yeah, and if everything went successfully, then we execute line 31. So that is basically it about the new car, or our form, which you're using to add new car records to our wish list. That is it about it. Then our dashboard, maybe if I can as well take us through this. We first check if the user is logged in, sorry. If they're not logged in, then you're going to invoke the sign-in function, okay? So basically we're going to invoke the sign-in function, which again is coming from our utils.js file. Then if they're logged in, I'm going to have some account, set some state right here. Like 17 and 18 are setting some state. Then the first state is for the wallet address. Then the second state is basically for the records returned from our smart contract. So when we read the wish list, the array or the list that is going to be returned to us will be stored in this wish list variable. Then I use the effect hook, the use effect hook. So these are React.js hook, which is basically going to run once. So once it is going to be invoked once when this component is loaded. So while that happens, I'm going to set the account ID. That is the state I just set right there. Then I'm going to pass in the wallet address that is attached to this particular application. And to do that, I use the get account method from our utils.js right here. So we're simply getting the account ID, that is the wallet address that has been attached to our application. Okay, awesome. Then in line 22, we try to read, and like I said, this is going to be a promise. So we try to read the wish list. And again, this is coming from our utils.js file. So we're basically getting this information from our contract, smart contract, sorry. We pass in the start and the limit. So for us to be able to paginate our response, then we're going to invoke, since this is a promise, once everything goes successfully, invoke the .then method. Yeah, we invoke the .then method with our response. And now we expect that this response is going to be an array of objects as retrieved from our smart contract, okay? So we're basically going to set our wish list over here. We're going to change the state of this particular variable using this method. So set wish list, and we pass down the array. So that will basically change the value of this particular variable. Then if there's any error, we basically log it in our console. Now over here, let's ignore the navigation bit for now. So over here is the table we're using to basically display this particular record. And like I said, our array will be stored here. So we basically need to look through the content as we change them and display them. And the map function is going to help us achieve that. So we map through the objects in the array, and we get these properties of the object. and the index of that particular object. So yeah, these are React requirements. So you specify the key. Then we pass in the image of that particular object, the name, the model, the mileage, the year, the price. And down here, we're passing an on-click method to our delete button. If you can recall this button over here, the delete button, here is how it is implemented. So we have an on-click event on it. Then inside it, we're invoking, the remove car method, passing in the index of that particular object. And again, our remove car method will basically help us remove it from our storage in our smart contract that is on the side of blockchain. Then, yeah, after all this is well formatted, then we'll basically print all these, or we add all these to our DOM, okay? So that is basically how React is helping us achieve that. And that is basically it. There's really nothing much with our navigation component. So it's basically helping us, structure all these. So this bit, okay? So this is the component that is basically helping us achieve that. So it's basically acting as our navigation bar, and really there's nothing now going on over here. So maybe to mention, we have a sign out method. Again, this is coming from our utils.js file. And our sign out is basically going to unlink the wallet address that was used to sign into our app, or that was linked to our app that is being used to sign transactions. So when you invoke the sign out method, it's basically going to unlink it. And that is basically what's happening over here. So we also have an event on the logout button over here, and on click, and we're passing the log user out method. That is basically what will be invoked over there. So guys, that is basically it about the application. You realize it's quite similar to what we did yesterday. That's why I said the session would be quite short. But then if you have any question, you can please raise them. I'm really sorry I was not able to make use of the near API module. It really gave me some headache. I've actually spent the whole day trying to debug it, but then I've not been successful. So that's why I've decided to just go with the CDN version. So any question maybe, or anyone who wants any clarity? Cosmos, you're talking of brainstorming. I think I've not got that quite well. So Isaac, maybe you can just go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Now, my question is, I usually see that when building, say, on Ethereum or even on EOS, there's usually an ABI to interact, for the front end to interact with the smart contract. Is that possible in NIA?
An API?
ABI, application binary interface.
Application?
Binary interface.
Not really. I've not heard of that with the NIA, unless I do my research, but I've not heard of that. For now, there's only the NIA API.js library and other libraries that are helping interface with other programming language, but I've not heard of the ABI sort of interface that we can use to interact with the NIA blockchain.
Okay, so with that, I think you've probably gone over it, but how can one interface with his smart contract on the front end?
front end, in this case, web app,
Yes.
you just use the near API JS library, the one we're using now. So
Okay.
maybe if I can show this again, my index.html wizard. So like I said, I'm pulling it from a CDN. So I'm using a CDN version. So this is near API JS, right? This is a near API JS module I'm using. Sorry, library I'm using. So I tried pulling this using npm, the near API JS module, node module, but then things were not working as expected. So that's why I just decided to go with the CDN version. But this is what you can use for your web frontend.
Okay. And could you, what's in the build directory?
The build.
Yeah.
So okay. After the error, I was just trying to see if after building maybe things can work out, but then that still wasn't the case. So this is basically a build version of this particular project. So this is the version you can host now on your web server.
Okay. And final question.
Yeah.
I've observed that most of the frameworks used React and Next.js to build front ends.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible to do it, say, using Angular or Vue?
Yeah, that's possible. You have actually, once you have the CDN in place, you should be able to do all this because the configuration is going to remain the same. And your util.js file, or the way you're going to invoke your functions on the smart contract, you can as well name that file anything. This is the file we're calling utils.js. You can name it anything, but then the functions are still going to appear almost in a similar way. Okay. So you can easily implement this in Vue, Angular, React, all the web front-end libraries, you should be able to run with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. Great. So Cosmos, you're talking about something, maybe.
Yeah, there was a time you're supposed to sorry, I'm in a loud place, but we're supposed to brainstorm about the ideas, and also I'm hearing there's an event.
Yeah, there's an event we should be having this Saturday, and actually that is why you may. I was thinking we may not have our tomorrow's session due to that event, but I really hope that we'll at least do something. Yes.